The problem is Islam, not Islamism. The problem here is not a subset of Islamic thought, but the fundamentals of Islam itself. I first heard the word Islamism in a video of a 2010 debate between Majid Nawaz, Zeba Khan, Douglas Murray, and Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Nawaz explained that he used the term Islamism to denote an ideology that advocates establishing Islamic supremacy, and Islamist to describe anyone who wants to further that aim. This terminology allowed him, he argued, to distinguish between moderate and fundamentalist Muslims, but it is telling that we do not make this distinction with regard to any other religion. In his choice of lexicon, Nawaz was applying a double standard. He wanted to avoid tarring all Muslims with the same brush, but this could have been done using qualifiers such as fundamentalist, extremist, or radical. One of the reasons Nawaz offered for this choice was that he wanted to educate Westerners about differences within Islam, but this goal would be better served by adapting terms with which Westerners are already familiar in a Judeo-Christian context. For example, Nawaz could have described organizations like the Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, in the US, and Five Pillars in the UK as the equivalent of evangelical Christian groups who try to influence national policy in support of their beliefs. CAIR has lobbied for Sharia family courts, Islamic banking, and the encouragement of hijab. Instead, Nawaz introduced a new term to an audience that was perhaps already confused. If Nawaz thought using Islamism instead of Islam to differentiate between peaceful, moderate, and fundamentalist versions of Islam would enable people to avoid being accused of Islamophobia, he was wrong. To those eager to discredit valid criticism of Islam as racist, or who genuinely believe such criticisms are motivated by bigotry, the change of terminology is likely to seem merely a sleight of hand. Indeed, in 2010, CAIR stated Islamist is used to describe any Muslim individual or movement at odds with those using the term. Comedian Frankie Boyle tweeted, "If I see the word Islamist, I assume I'm about to read the incoherent ramblings of a crazed racist." My family and close friends are moderate Muslims, yet they believe in Islamic supremacy. As I grew up, they told me Islam would spread across the world, and everyone would become Muslim. They didn't say they would help make this happen, nor did they try to convince my siblings and me to take part in violent jihad. They took it for granted that Islam would dominate the globe. If you call that belief an extreme version of Islam, you will have little hope of understanding how Muslims like my family see the world. Over the past decade, the definition of the term Islamism has evolved. At first, it meant creating a society based on Sharia using political means. Then it slowly began to change to mean a desire to create an Islamic society using any means, including violence. Since we have the terms theocracy and theocrat, why do we need new words specific to Islam to describe this ambition? To use Islamist to mean someone who wants to spread Islam by any means is to equate Hamas and ISIS with CAIR. Whatever you feel about CAIR's ideological leanings, it is a political group, not a terrorist one. In many Islamic countries, girls as young as 9 can be married to men decades older. This is not Islamism. It is Islam. Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6 and consummated the marriage when she was 9. The governments of Iran, Yemen, and a host of other countries use the reasoning that if the Prophet married his bride when she was 6, it must be acceptable for Muslim men to marry prepubescent girls. Pretending this practice is peripheral to Islam will not help us solve the problem. Hijab and veiling are Islamic practices, not signs of creeping Islamism. While some Muslim countries have banned the face veil due to security concerns, none have banned the hijab, and several countries are enforcing the hijab by law. To argue the mandatory hijab is part of Islam and we need to deal with it on those terms, ordinary Muslims do not want to spread Sharia, may also impose the hijab on women and their families. Islam is a totalitarian religion. It aspires to control every aspect of Muslims' lives. There are rules about which foot you should use to walk into your house and to enter every room. There are rules about how to drink water. Many rules come from the Hadith and show how to emulate Muhammad. It is a mistake to believe mandates from the Quran that Islam should be supreme or somehow not Islam itself, but something else called Islamism. To describe aspects of Islam as Islamism deflects from the fact that violent extremists have goals that are Islamic. The problem is not a subset of Islamic thought, but Islam itself. Uganda recently passed laws outlawing homosexuality. This inhumane authoritarianism was not ascribed to Christianism, but to evangelical Christianity. Islamism is a weasel word. It allows apologists to downplay the effect of Islamic teachings. Theocratic governments like Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan are not Islamist, they are Islamic. They pass laws and institute policy that conform to Islamic teaching. Islamic doctrine separates the world into the House of Islam, Dar al-Islam, and the House of War. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and other Islamic terrorist groups are fighting to expand the reach of Dar al-Islam, as mandated by the Quran. We should fight them on the basis of their actions